Hey guys, JV here with Level Up Gaming, sharing my top 10 games of 2016. The past year has been so good for video games, and it's always nice to reflect on our favorite gaming experiences. Before we jump in, I want to share my reasoning on how I came to my top 10 games of the year for those that are curious or interested. But if you'd rather just skip to the list, I understand. I've left a timestamp in the description below that will take you to number 10. Regardless, I encourage all of you to share your top 10 games of 2016 in the comment section below so we can get a conversation going and share all of our favorite games from the past year. This should go without saying, but it's worth noting that these are my personal favorite games of the year. This is all my opinion, and while I love playing video games, there are so many that I didn't get to that I genuinely wanted to play. I just didn't have time to get to play them. It doesn't mean that I think they're bad or not worthy, I just didn't have time to play them. And since I am my own person, I'm a unique individual, I have a set of biases, and it's important to point those out for those that are curious and would like to know. First, I usually lean towards AAA titles. I do have one indie game in my top 10 for the year, but just know that I didn't play a lot of indie games this year, and I usually don't, so don't expect a lot of that. Next, I am totally a console gamer at heart. That's what I grew up playing, and that's what I feel most comfortable playing. So if the game is a PC exclusive, it's not something that came out on consoles, most likely I didn't play it. Now there is again an exception on my list, but this just includes smaller games on Steam and others that didn't get a lot of media attention that are on PC only. I probably did not play. Finally, I will share some honorable mentions, some games that I really loved but just didn't make the cut. You know, some other games were better and got in front of those games. I will share those after my top 10. And if I don't mention a particular game, if you're wondering where the hell is this game, it's most likely that I, number one, didn't play it, or number two, I didn't like it enough to put it in my honorable mentions. It wasn't even in the consideration for me. All right, that's all I wanted to share. Here is my top 10 games of 2016. At number 10 is Gears of War 4, and this is a game that I did not expect to like that much. I was actually surprised when I didn't pick it up at launch, and then I saw a lot of really good reviews for the game. So I waited to pick it up on sale, and it was such a blast. I really enjoyed Gears of War 4. Some things that really struck out to me are the beautiful level design, the great visuals and colors were such a great improvement over the last game. A lot of really beautiful areas, especially underground. That was a place that I didn't expect to be beautiful, but totally was. And I think part of that was the HDR on my Xbox One S was just beautiful. There's also some incredible lighting in the game. These are things that I didn't expect to like from Gears, but again, these things just blew me away. It is a standard third-person cover-based shooter that doesn't really revolutionize in any particular way, but at the end of the day, it was the little things that won me over. First off, the interesting new characters, I wanted to learn more about them, and the fact that this new trilogy kind of lays out the groundwork for what we're going to see for another 2 Gears games, I guess at least. I don't know if they're planning a trilogy or not, but I am invested in this story. I want to know what happens next. The very end of the game had a very nice little twist slash, you know, oh, look, there's going to be more, there's more going on here, and I'm going to play the rest of the franchise because of that and because of how, you know, good this game was. So interesting characters, some great set pieces at the very end of the game were just awesome, and bringing back old characters, very nostalgic and kind of, you know, paying homage to the first trilogy was very well done. Coalition continues this franchise very well with Gears of War 4, and it should continue to be a staple Xbox exclusive, you know, throughout the life cycle, of course, of the Xbox One and into the future. And so Gears of War 4 was just an all-around solid experience, and that's why it deserved a spot in my top 10. Number 9 is Watch Dogs 2, and if I were to describe this game very quickly, I would just say it's really freaking fun. I had a lot of fun playing through Watch Dogs 2 with Marcus, running around the Bay Area, hacking all kinds of stuff, and playing through that story. It was just a blast. There was never a down point where I was like, this is kind of, you know, boring, drab, whatever. It's just a really fun game. And the recreation of the Bay Area is incredible. San Francisco, Oakland, Stanford, all of that packed into this game deserves recognition. It's beautiful. The game is gorgeous to look at, and there was never a point where I was like, I don't know, they didn't really flesh out this part of the world. All of it was very well crafted, and so kudos to Ubisoft for this really awesome open world area set in San Francisco. Some other things that I really enjoyed about Watch Dogs 2, Marcus is a much better protagonist than Aiden Pierce from the original Watch Dogs. I'm so glad they dumped him and got Marcus in here. However, there was a big conflict. It was a weird disconnect with Marcus. You could kill everyone, you know, like most of these open world games, you can kill everyone, but Marcus didn't act like a killer, and it didn't seem plausible or even reasonable that Marcus would be this killer, because then he turns into this happy-go-lucky guy who's having fun with his buddies, hacking, you know, beating the system. Just didn't make sense. And so it was a weird disconnect with that, kind of a hit and miss storyline throughout. And to be honest, the game again doesn't really revolutionize in any particular way, but it was a very solid open world experience. Something that I usually don't enjoy in games is item hunting, but for some reason Watch Dogs 2 was interesting, and I really wanted to go around and pick up all the collectibles. And maybe because there's no Assassin's Creed this year, and so I don't have to compete with other games in terms of item hunting and trying to pick up all the feathers and whatever nonsense. But it was really fun in Watch Dogs 2 with the drone flying that around, and then the jumper drone as well. You have a lot of different tools in your toolbox as a hacker, and that was really, really fun. Something else I really appreciated from Watch Dogs 2 is how relevant it was. Super relevant social commentary on the Church of Scientology with, you know, celebrities being involved in that, and just the whole Bloom, Hom, all these different companies trying to gather information and use it against you. While it is, you know, kind of over the top and it's supposed to be satire, you know, poking fun at what's really going on, it was very relevant, and it distinguished itself from GTA, which is another open world kind of crime franchise that also does a lot of social commentary and satire. So if you'd like to hear my extended thoughts on Watch Dogs 2, I made a full review, so link to that video in the description below. Number 8 is Titanfall 2, and the first thing that jumped out at me and made me love this game was the great shooting mechanics. I mean, that's something you expect from Respawn. You know, they made Modern Warfare 2, fantastic shooting mechanics in those games, whether you like COD or not. So good, so fluid on their shooting mechanics, and the movement is also very refreshing in Titanfall. Of course, the original game kind of brought that into the scene. You're running on walls, you're jumping around. It's not just a corridor shooter. That is brought forth in Titanfall 2 and explored even further, I feel like. And the big thing with Titanfall 2 was that campaign, and it was surprisingly good. The Titan there, BT, was very well written. We didn't really have a main character to write home about. He was very bland, but the Titan really kind of stole the show, had some very witty comments, and you kind of felt an emotional connection with this Titan, and usually you don't get that in modern military shooter campaigns. Furthermore, the game has great open level design. It's not, again, just a corridor shooter, very intuitive. You think, oh, can I run on that? Oh, I actually do need to run on that in order to advance the mission. You know, the game kind of steers you in a way that is not obtrusive and not obvious. You're not just following, you know, objective point to objective point. So very fun platforming and surprisingly good set pieces. There was one level where you could literally change the state of what was going on in different alternate realities, and that surprised the hell out of me, and I was like, wow, I'm really enjoying myself. The only thing with this campaign is it was only about 6 hours long. It was a bit too short. I feel like they could have added a little bit more in there. It would have fit with the narrative, you know, just something to lengthen the experience, because this is definitely the best part of the game in my opinion. Since this is a sequel, everything just kind of got upgraded. So there's great Titan variety. It's a lot more fun to play with different kinds of Titans, and the pacing throughout the game when they give you different Titan kits was very well done. Just an upgrade from the original. And of course, Titanfall does have multiplayer. The multiplayer is pretty much improved across the board, but it's not going to draw new people in. I think that's something I pointed out in my review. If you didn't like the first Titanfall multiplayer, there's not enough new going on to make you think, oh, Titanfall 2's multiplayer is genuinely better. However, there are fun game modes, new perks, weapons, all that kinds of stuff to play around with. So if you do like Titanfall multiplayer, then Titanfall 2 has everything that you would want. It's really just a shame that this game didn't sell very well at all at launch, and I think they're hoping that multiplayer kind of delivers those long tail sales over time. People will come back and realize, okay, this is a really good multiplayer experience. Let's keep playing for this with new content. I just don't understand the strategy from Respawn and EA to release this game between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. It really just killed the sales. It's pretty obvious to look at that in hindsight. So I hope they figure out for the next Titanfall, release it, you know, on its own. Give it its own kind of island, its own month, you know, September, for example, and let people play it in isolation when they don't have these other games that they already, you know, have decided that they're going to get. So I'm crossing my fingers for Titanfall 3, but Titanfall 2 was definitely a great step in the right direction. I also reviewed Titanfall 2 on my channel, so check the link in the description below for my extended review. Number 7 is Ratchet and Clank, the 2016 remake. Of course, the original game came out 14 years ago, and this is just a nostalgia bomb for me. I loved Ratchet and Clank as a kid, and playing this game was so good. So many memories, and it's just a fantastic game on its own as well. Only at $40 at launch. I think it's just dirt cheap right now. But I love this game. This game is in my top 10 because of its classic platforming, puzzling, crazy weapons. It's just classic Ratchet and Clank, what we'd expect from this franchise with a new coat of paint. That being said, this is not just a remaster. This is not just them putting the game in HD. They remade so many new assets, and they brought a lot of nice systems like weapon experience, which wasn't in the original game, and progression from some of the newer games like Up Your Arsenal and Going Commando. There were a few narrative and humor changes. They actually tell a story from the perspective of Captain Quark, and that lined up with the movie that coincided, which apparently wasn't that great. I saw it, I didn't think it was terrible, but again, I love Ratchet and Clank. But that brought forth some amazing cutscenes, lots of really awesome Pixar quality cutscenes, like those Overwatch shorts, for example. That was the quality of the Ratchet and Clank cutscenes, and they're very, very awesome. If you pay attention, if you love Ratchet and Clank, then you really appreciate that. There were also a few new planets, which is awesome, some Clank sequences that just weren't in the game, and I think they put that in this game for narrative reasons, but a lot of the Clank puzzling is there. There's no arena, which kind of, was a little disappointing for me, even though it wasn't in the original game. I was thinking, let's put in an arena in the original game because this is, again, a remake, not just an HD remaster, but it was not in the game. I was a little disappointed about that. The graphics are incredible. It's a beautiful game to play, and if you have a PlayStation 4 Pro, you should absolutely play this game because it's probably even more beautiful on the Pro. The only thing that I'm really disappointed about with this game is it doesn't run in 60 FPS, and that's something that Insomniac decided to do, and I don't understand their reasoning personally, and maybe it's a technical thing. I really, really want to play another Ratchet and Clank game in 60 FPS, so I'm crossing my fingers for the future if they continue with Ratchet and Clank on PS4. Something else new that they did is a holo card system where you could go around and collect holo cards, and they give you little tidbits about the lore and the world. And again, if this game is a piece of nostalgia for you and you love the original games, then you will appreciate these, but it totally is a modern conceit. It didn't need to be in the game. It felt like it was a little bit shoved in there, but once again, I appreciated it. So if you'd like to hear my extended review and thoughts on Ratchet and Clank, please check the link in the description below again to my full review. Number 6 is Civilization 6, and this might surprise some people, but there's a special place in my heart for Civilization games, and Civ 6 just seems to me to be the best Civilization game out so far. I know some Civ 6 purists will disagree with me, but there are so many great iterative changes to the franchise that give you more to do and more to manage turn to turn. Sometimes in Civilization 5, it seemed as though everything was automated and you were just kind of clicking through, trying to get, further in time. No, that's just not the case in Civ 6. There's so much to do, so many great changes that make sense, like the building charges for the builders. Builders are not unlimited units anymore, they have charges. There's the civics tree, which is separated from the tech tree, which made a lot of sense. Policy cars that you can switch out. There's a lot more situational options and choices to be made in this game, and the civs are very interesting and nuanced, and some are used for certain victories and excel at certain ones and others not so much. Again, that was the case before, but now it seems even more so, and just situational. I think that's the general word I'm going to throw out with why I love Civ 6 so much. There's so much to play around with, so much to learn, and it's like this big extended game of chess, just so much strategy in every single choice that you make. One of the biggest complaints from a lot of people that love Civ 6 and are still playing it since it came out is that the AI is annoying and it almost punishes you for doing something that's going to help you, for competing pretty much. So if you do something that's good for you, like build a wonder, oh well, the Chinese emperor, or the guy that's running this Chinese civ is going to be very mad at you because he doesn't like when enemy civs build wonders. It's kind of a backwards system. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You could argue either way on it, but the AI is a little wonky, and I'm hoping that Firaxis can patch in some better code or whatever it may be to fix this AI. Maybe it's not fixable. Maybe they'll have some other kind of, cover up with a future update that fixes things, but people are annoyed by the AI, and we're hoping that it does improve in the future. I will say that one thing that I really appreciate is the multiplayer is so much better than Civ 5. Civ 5's multiplayer was really frustrating to deal with certain servers, trying to play with friends. It's so smooth this time around with Civilization 6. If you want to play with buddies, it is so easy to do. And so the big thing about Civ 6 and why it's so high on my list is that it gives such a great foundation for the next generation of Civilization. I will be returning to this game intermittently over probably the next 5 years until the next Civ comes out. That's just the kind of Civilization player I am. I don't play it just religiously throughout, but I come back to it. I go super hardcore into the strategy and all that stuff and watch my favorite Civ YouTubers play it a ton and then put it aside when new games come out. So I love Civ 6 and I think it lays a great foundation for the future of Civ. Number 5 is Inside, and this is my one and only indie game that I mentioned earlier in this video. After playing this game, it's a very short game, but after playing it, I was just shocked at how Inside affected me and made me think about its themes, about what I was doing, about the whole purpose of the game, and the intended message that was being sent by the game from the developers. It's a game with very simple mechanics, puzzle platforming. It's kind of genius in a way that it kind of steers you towards what you need to be doing without overtly telling you. That's something that I mentioned earlier in this video for another game. I really appreciate that concept and aspect of games. It was never frustrating. I never got frustrated by these puzzles, but it was intuitive. I kind of knew what was going on from what was being taught to me earlier in the game. That's not something that's easy to do. And so this game has zero direction, zero HUD, zero narration. Nobody says a single word, not a single spoken word Inside in the entire game. You just absorb the story by experiencing the game. It's very much a show, don't tell. If you guys, were taught that in middle school English, show, don't tell, that's what Inside does, but within a game. It's the very antithesis of modern games and modern conceits. Inside is just a shining example of how video games are art. They are absolutely art. And I felt like I was playing almost a painting when I was playing Inside. It was, here's our art, just experience it and interpret it for its own meaning. It's almost like casting your own ideas onto the piece of art, onto the game. Inside is such a special game. I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's not for everyone, I will say. Some of you will play it and be like, okay, what the hell was this? But give it a chance. Absolutely, this game is worth a try. It's very cheap. Inside blew me away, and that's why it earned a spot in my top 10. Number 4 is Dishonored 2, and I love this game. It really refines the concepts of the original Dishonored and explores them even further. I think this is just overall across the board a better game than the original Dishonored, which in and of itself was a fantastic game. And Dishonored 2 has just fantastic non-linear level design. Everything feels really open and explorable. Although there are invisible walls, it doesn't seem like there are, just because of how well the levels are designed and created. There's so many incentives to search and explore, and what I appreciate about this game is that it broke my natural tendencies. I usually don't want to explore. I want to go from point A to point B. I want to get through the game. I want to know what happens next with the story. Not with Dishonored 2. It was so interesting. So much lore to be learned, interesting characters, super interesting books that taught me more about the world and how it's different from our own reality. It's so cool. I just love the world of Dishonored. This game has incredible set pieces in the Clockwork Mansion and Stilton's Manor as well, where there's some funky time, shifting stuff going on. Lots of great moments that I will never forget. Of course, we have to talk about the gameplay. It's great variety of gameplay. You can play as Corvo or Emily. Emily has all new powers that we've never played with before. Corvo has a few new ones, but this is some solid stealth action combat, and it's revolutionized by these supernatural powers again that fit in with the lore. Everything connects back to the lore and the world in this unique IP that Harvey Smith and Arcane Studios have created. It's just wonderful. I love Dishonored across the board. The morality system with chaos and choice, I love it. There's so many things that you can do, different playthroughs, especially with Emily and Corvo. The art direction has a fantastic aesthetic and style that's all its own. It's unique. You're not going to find it in any other game or a lot of other, media out there. And so overall, I just love Dishonored 2. It was definitely a shoe-in for at least a top 5 of my list, and if you want to learn more about why I love this game, I've got my full review linked in the description below. Heading into my top 3, these games are really distinguished by their ability to do so much with so little. It's like simplicity by design, but there's complexity from that simplicity, if that makes sense, and I'll explain with each game. So at number 3, something I really didn't expect was Doom. This game is the antithesis of the modern FPS. It's a big middle finger to the modern military shooter that's been consuming our lives for the past 10 years since Call of Duty 4. It did not bend their knees and create a game that would have been safe and would have been, palatable, and everyone that plays Call of Duty would have liked Doom. They did not do that. This game has pure open level design, no reloading. It's literally about killing demons, and you do it for 12 hours straight, and it's fucking fantastic. There's an emphasis on being mobile. There's no hiding. You need to push the enemy if you want to stay alive, and the glory kill system is perfect. And if you want more health, you need to go up and kill an enemy and glory kill them, but that doesn't slow you down. It keeps you going. And it's so refreshing. This game is such a departure from what I've been playing over the past many, many years that I've been playing FPS games. And something that I also appreciated was the silent protagonist who says 1,000 words just through his actions. He's not interested in anyone else's agenda. He just wants to kill demons, and he's going to do it. The game looks fantastic. I played it on PC, stunning visuals and lighting. I was blown away. It runs like a dream. It's probably the best running FPS this year. It's so fluid. There are a few modern conceits like upgrading, but they genuinely work. It's really fun to play around with the different, weapon upgrades and the alternate fires that you get on each weapon. You have to go around and collect all the upgrades, and that kind of allows you to modify what you can do with each weapon. It's just such a refreshing experience, and I will compare Doom 2016 to future FPS games and probably just be disappointed. I'm going to look at the next Call of Duty and be like, this isn't as good as Doom. That's how good this game is. It is such a joy to play. I totally recommend it. And I think another reason I enjoyed the hell out of Doom is because of No Clip's documentary. Fantastic YouTube channel run by a former, mainstream media video game journalist. Now he's gone on his own. He makes documentaries about video games. You get to learn a lot from the people who made the game, from the sound design to the level design, all of that stuff. The people that made this game made the original Doom. A lot of them did. And so very interesting to learn about the game. I highly recommend you watch. And I've also left a link in the description below to the first episode of No Clip's Doom documentary. Number 2 is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. This game is a masterpiece. It's perfect. It is so good. And I think I realized that a few hours in when I realized that the gameplay is just simple platforming and shooting. When you break it down, nothing is going on with this game. And so on the surface, you would think, oh, this is just a platformer with a bit of shooting mechanics. It's nice and polished, but that's essentially what it is. But the presentation of the narrative and the story is just unparalleled. It's on another level. The writing, just the whole presentation of the whole thing, you cannot find another game that pulls it off as good as Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. The settings, the graphics, the places that you visit are gorgeous. They're beautiful. This game is a treat to play. The story with Nathan's brother Sam, where you go back in time and you're in the present and you're experiencing all these things for the first time. He's been in jail, but you should have been with him the entire time. It's just wonderfully executed. It's a beautiful end to a beloved franchise. It's just fantastic. I can't gush about it anymore. I think it is the best narrative-focused action-adventure platformer ever. And I know that's a mouthful because that's essentially what this game is. Uncharted 4 is probably in my top 10 games of all time after playing it. It really had an effect on me. It really put a bow on the end of a franchise that I played. I played the original game. I played the second game. I didn't play the third game. I plan on going back to play it. But it's so good. Uncharted 4 is a blast, and it's a great reason to buy a PlayStation 4. I mean, oh my God, such a great game. Uncharted 4 definitely deserved a spot on my list. And finally, at number 1, my game of the year is Overwatch. Overwatch. It's so good. I love Overwatch. I love it. I think for me personally, it represents the multiplayer game that I've always wanted to play. And it's finally here. And I'm going to play the hell out of it for many years to come. And when you break it down, Overwatch is just 2 game modes at the moment. It's got a hero roster of 23 heroes. It's multiplayer only. And a lot of people kind of smirk at that and say, where's the full experience? But the thing is, Blizzard is masterful. Just from a game design perspective, Jeff Kaplan, that team that works on the game, are masterful. It's hard to find things wrong with Overwatch. And when you start nitpicking, it's very, very small things.
There's no lore in the game, and that's kind of a turnoff for people, but really there's no problem because we've got other mediums that, Blizzard is releasing their lore from in the form of shorts, which are very Pixar quality, awesome animations that are like 10 minutes long that give you insight into the backgrounds of each character. There's comics. There's a lot of, avenues to learn more about the game and become invested in this world. And it's very interesting. It's very relevant, and it's got its own art style. It's just very unique, and it's all its own. Stepping back into the game, there's so much complexity and strategy within this simplicity of design, and that's something I mentioned before. There's not a lot going on in Overwatch. You can find other games out there that are like MOBA-like, or, this is an FPS. People shouldn't get that confused. This is a multiplayer first-person shooter, but there's just very simple. We don't have a lot of abilities going on, but there's so much complexity within those abilities and how you can use them. And so you find this strategy in these different ways you can use characters. And this game has been out, it's been in beta at least. People have had their hands on this game for a year now, and people are still discovering new ways to play the game, new strategies that work. And then, of course, we've got these ever-evolving meta. There's new events. There's different buffs and nerfs and new heroes and maps, and I'm going to be playing this game for years and years. That is why this is Game of the Year for me, because I'm going to be playing Overwatch for a long time. I love it. I'm a fanboy. I mean, some of my most favorite gaming experiences have come in the past 7 months, 8 months, however long it's been out for the general public. It's been Overwatch, and it's been, my favorite game for a while. And so Overwatch is absolutely Game of the Year for me. It's absolutely in my top 10 games of all time, and I just love it. Real quickly, I've got 4 honorable mentions, games that would have been in my top 10 but got edged out by the competition. I enjoyed other games more than these games. Number 1 is Infinite Warfare. Yeah, Call of Duty. I'm surprised about that. I really enjoyed the campaign. I thought it was really fun. I had a blast playing through it, and I was engaged in every single moment, but it's nothing revolutionary. It didn't revolutionize anything. Same old Call of Duty. Man, the multiplayer, I just can't even play. I can't even stomach it. So it was going to be at the top, near 10 or 9, but I just got edged out by other games. Battlefield 1 kind of falls into the same category. Surprisingly enjoyable campaign for me, but nothing revolutionary, especially with the multiplayer. Battlefield changes less than Call of Duty. I don't think people realize that. And so I'm not really interested in Battlefield 1 multiplayer. I love the World War I setting, however. I'm glad they went to that, but I hate the microtransactions in my Battlefield 1. They're disgusting. I just can't even play the game because of those as well. Mafia 3 is a game I really wanted to like, and I expressed that in my review, but repetitive gameplay and technical issues overshadowed a lot of the good things in the game, and it didn't stack up to the competition at the end of the day. It has a very fantastic narrative, very well written. I got to talk to the lead of the studio, Hangar 13 at 2K, who explained a lot of that stuff to me, and it was made by a very passionate group, but I think it just didn't make the cut, unfortunately, because of technical issues, repetitive gameplay, but it should be recognized for its social commentary and its willingness to address a lot of uncomfortable things about history. It does so very well with Lincoln and all of the events in Mafia 3. My last honorable mention is for Battleborn, and this is a game that got shit on by the entire community, and it's really sad because it had almost everything it needed to be a great game with a nice little community. It was very passionate and supportive and would buy all the DLC and all that, but poor marketing and releasing the game around Overwatch killed it. If I'm Gearbox, I am so madly disappointed about how this thing turned out. Battleborn was supposed to be a game that did well, and it didn't because of some very, very poor decisions. And so I just feel bad for Gearbox, but I really loved the game when I played it. I just can't play it anymore. It's not supported in the way that it should be, and they just need to move on to Borderlands 3. They need to just bring that game out as soon as you can, Gearbox. That is it for my top 10 games of 2016. Once again, I encourage you all, let me know in the comment section below, what are your top 10 games of the past year? What did you love about these games? Just give me your list, whatever you want to share. Let's get a conversation going in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what your favorite games of the past year are. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and click subscribe if you haven't already for more tips and tricks and gaming related videos here on Level Up Gaming. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for constant updates on when we're uploading new videos. Check out our website at levelupgaming.com where you'll find complete libraries of every single video we upload moving into the future. Also, if you're feeling generous, consider supporting us further through our Patreon. Becoming a patron will allow you to engage with us further and unlock exclusive content like monthly Q&As. So visit our Patreon if you'd like to learn more. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Level Up Gaming.